Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hidden Links Masterclass. We're going to dive deep into the root causes of autism, ADHD, sensory challenges, and other neurodevelopmental and neuroimmune conditions. My name is Dr. Beata, and I'm a holistic and integrative doctor, and most importantly, a mom who has been there as well. If you're here watching this, you've probably been searching for answers. Maybe you've tried therapies, diets, supplements, or medications, and yet you still feel like something deeper is missing. Or maybe you're just starting out exploring holistic approaches. I remember sitting there with my baby in my arms, watching her scream and cry in pain, feeling like a complete failure. Even though I had the degrees, the checklists, all the credentials, maybe you felt that way too. Like you've tried so many things, or you just followed the doctor's orders, and yet you see that your body or your child's is struggling. It may be with focus, mood, sensory overload, or developmental challenges. And deep down, you know there has to be more to the story. And you're right, there is. What I didn't realize back then is that symptoms aren't random. They're messages. It's our body's way of communicating with us. And they're signals pointing to deeper root causes that the conventional system often overlooks. Because the system told me to trust the experts, but the system wasn't built for us. It wasn't built for our children, and it's not built for our health. And in this masterclass, I'm going to show you what I call the hidden links, the root causes of the drastic rise in autism, ADHD, sensory challenges, and other conditions, and how to start supporting your child's or your own body and brain naturally. And by the end of this class, you'll see exactly how to step into that power to become the healer, the advocate, and your own holistic doctor for yourself and your family. And you're going to walk away with clear, actionable steps to start true healing from within. Welcome to the Radiant Health and Wellness community. Throughout each video training and masterclass, we explore perspectives designed to empower you and activate your radiant health, wellness, and vitality. My name is Dr. Beata Harasim, and I created the Radiant Health Protocol, an integrative system utilizing 6 pillars to master your health and wellness from within as you make your body your ally on your journey to optimal well-being. This protocol is the solution for various signs and symptoms, stages of life, diagnoses, and conditions. Join us as we take a deep dive into just one aspect of health and wellness right now. And these episodes are for educational purposes only. Please consult with your physician or a practitioner before making any changes. Let's go. Your journey to radiant health starts here. This isn't another generic talk. We're going to be diving deep and exploring how the body, the brain, the gut, and the nervous system interact, and what may drive autism, ADHD, and sensory differences. And now many of you may be in different starting points on your journey. So go ahead and in the chat or comment section, put a yes if you're just beginning to explore why your child or you might be struggling and you want real answers. And then go ahead and drop a me if you've tried multiple approaches for your child or yourself and you still feel stuck or frustrated. And even though this session is pre-recorded, you can still engage and feel connected. So feel free to drop your aha moments in the chat or comments so others can catch them too, and share your experiences or journey. Any questions as well, because you're not alone in this journey. And this is going to be shared publicly, but if you'd like access to a free private community and to have all the resources that go along with this masterclass, make sure you click the link below in the description or the comments and sign up. Now, on the public forums and in the private group as well, feel free to share as much or as little as you're comfortable with. And just an important disclaimer that this masterclass is for educational and informational purposes only, and it is not medical advice. Please consult your physician or practitioner before making any changes to health routines, treatments, or therapies. Now, you've probably seen a lot of the headlines lately. So, studies, news stories, even social media, all discussing the link of Tylenol, even vaccines, and autism. And yes, these are huge factors for so many families. But here's the thing, they are just pieces of a much larger puzzle. The full story includes how these exposures interact with genetics, gut health, detox pathways, and the nervous system. Each factor layers on top of the others, creating a perfect storm that can impact neurodevelopment. And I want to mention that this is not political. This is about our health. This is about our children's health. And this is about the health of our future generations. Because autism rates have been increasing exponentially from 1 in 150 in 2000 to 1 in 36 in 2020. And these are numbers from the CDC. Because we have to look at the whole system. And when you're ready to see that the medical system is built on big pharma, and big pharma profits when we stay sick and we need their products for life, and the connections to big food, and how the big food industry is here to get us and our children addicted to sugar and to processed foods. They literally have scientists who specialize in creating flavor profiles that are the most addictive to get us hooked on these products because they're not real food. And the medical system right now has huge gaps. It treats symptoms, it hands out pills, it gives injections instead of getting to the root causes. And I used to believe that the system had our best interests at heart. But then I realized that health has become an industry, not an intention. They sell convenience. Whereas we want to cultivate understanding and learn how to heal from the root. They profit from sickness. We build sovereignty and teach you how to be your own holistic doctor. And if you're looking at all of this, shaking your head, you're not crazy for questioning it. You're awake. You're part of a new generation of parents and individuals saying no more. No more Band-Aids, no more experimentation. We want to get to the root. We want natural solutions. And we need to empower ourselves because that's what's missing in this medical system. We go to doctors that tell us what prescription to take instead of learning how to be our own holistic doctor. Learn how to work with our own body and our children's to support true health. And in this masterclass, I want to help you see that bigger picture. Understanding this deeper story is what allows us to support and get true healing for our children and ourselves. The truth is that I didn't learn this in school, and other doctors don't learn this in medical school either. I had to learn it for my daughter because I'm a doctor of physical therapy, and inherently we're trained in holistic approaches. And I even had additional expertise and training in nutrition. But I also had the traditional healthcare background, so I understood the logic of modern medicine. And even though I had some hesitations, I trusted the guidance for my baby. Vaccines, standard interventions. But then my daughter, as a baby at just weeks old, struggled with severe sensitivities, digestive issues, colic, reflux, eczema, food reactions. And at 2 months, had a significant developmental regression after a routine well visit where she received multiple vaccines. And we tried many different approaches to help her. Nothing worked. Not even the more natural ones from more holistic providers. Specialists said she'll grow out of it or this is normal. But my intuition told me that something deeper was happening. That search led me to functional medicine, gut health, nervous system science, and epigenetics. I discovered that our children aren't broken. Their bodies are responding to a world full of toxins and a medical system out of balance. Once we addressed gut health, detox pathways, nervous system regulation, my daughter began to heal. And this approach has helped thousands of families around the world, and it can help yours too. I went from being the mom who trusted everyone else with her baby's health to the mom who learned to listen to her own intuition. And I'll never forget this one week when all of a sudden it was like a switch flipped and my daughter rolled, sat, and started to crawl in 1 week. That was our miracle moment. And that's when I realized that healing isn't just another pill or protocol, it's understanding the body's language and making sure that what we're doing makes sense for the child or the person in front of us. And it was a complete mindset shift around seeing those symptoms. Because when we start understanding that symptoms are the body's way of communicating and we learn to listen to it, everything changes. These connections are real, they are physiological, and once you see them, you can never unsee them. Now, what I discovered is that autism, ADHD, sensory challenges, neurodevelopmental conditions, these aren't random and they're not isolated. They are the result of a perfect storm of underlying imbalances that the conventional medical system never teaches us to look for. So we're going to be going deeper into all of these, but I want to present them quickly, and then we're going to go deeper and deeper throughout this presentation. And there's going to be lots of bonus resources. So if you're watching and you haven't signed up yet, please go ahead, click the link in the description or comment section and sign up so that you can get all of these resources in your inbox. So things that we want to look at include genetic vulnerabilities. So things like the MTHFR and COMT gene mutations. You may have heard of these, there's others as well, but these affect detoxification and brain chemistry. There's environmental toxins like heavy metals, plastics, pesticides, glyphosate or Roundup being sprayed everywhere. These accumulate in the body over time for both mom or the parents and baby. Then we need to look at medications like Tylenol that deplete glutathione, which is our master antioxidant. This is the cleanup crew. And then we need to look at vaccine ingredients. Aluminum, mercury, chemicals. We're going to dive deeper into these and the injuries that can happen from these that can cross the blood-brain barrier. And then there's gut dysbiosis that triggers inflammation and disrupts the gut-brain connection. Gut health is so crucial here. And again, we're going to dive deep in a couple minutes. But when you add all of these factors up, a child's body can become overwhelmed quickly. And yet this entire conversation has been missing from mainstream medicine. And most families I've worked with have tried everything, therapies, diets, supplements, endless testing, and still feel like they're running in circles. It's not your fault. The problem isn't that you haven't worked hard enough or tried hard enough. It's that the conventional medical system doesn't go deep enough to uncover the root causes. And I also want you to understand that autism, ADHD, and sensory challenges, they're just labels, okay? The root causes are all the same. They're just different ways of showing up because the body speaks through symptoms. And when we learn to listen, we heal, again, not just our children, but generations forward as well. Our symptoms are biofeedback. It is literally the body talking with you. And once you begin connecting these dots and seeing this perfect storm that is being created in mainstream medicine, in the environment, in ourselves, we realize that these aren't mystery disorders, they're messages. It is the body crying out for help, wanting us to listen. Let me know, has this been helpful so far? I can get a little passionate about these topics sometimes. But before we jump into each specific condition, let's talk about why symptoms aren't random. Because when we see labels like ADHD or autism, it can make it feel like it's a fixed condition, like the diagnosis defines the child. But the truth is that these labels are just descriptions of symptoms, and the symptoms are signals. They're your child's body and brain communicating that something is out of balance. So, some of the challenges that families notice most often include fatigue and low energy, emotional regulation struggles, digestive issues, anxiety or mood swings, sensory overwhelm, daily functional challenges. So things like getting dressed, eating, routines, focusing, right, completing tasks, communication difficulties as well. Sometimes there are speech delays, or some children are nonverbal. Expressing needs can be difficult, and then the frustration when we don't understand what they're asking for. There's social interaction struggles, so things like connecting with peers, understanding social cues, eye contact, and then learning differences too. So things like attention, memory, processing challenges. And what I will mention is that as we go through the conditions, many of these will overlap between conditions as well. So again, I want you to remember that those are just labels. We're really looking at the symptoms and what they're meaning. And so I invite you to take a moment and reflect, which of these has been most frustrating for you or your child? Or what are they struggling with the most? And if you feel comfortable to, go ahead and put it in the chat or comment section. Now, what I want you to know that these struggles aren't random, they're messages. And when we learn to decode them and understand them, we can address the root causes and not just manage the labels. Many of them are showing that there's inflammation of the brain and the gut going on. That's some of the root of what's happening. Again, we're going to dive deeper into the reasons and each condition going forward, but I want you to remember that in the back of your mind. So, we've talked about how symptoms aren't random, they're messages. And when we look beyond the label, whether it is autism or ADHD, sensory challenges, anxiety, or even chronic digestive issues, what we find is that these are descriptions and not explanations. Labels describe the struggle, but they don't tell the story of why. The real story lives beneath the surface because every symptom, every behavior, emotional reaction, every struggle is the body's way of saying, help me regulate, detoxify, and rebuild. This is where we start to uncover what I call the hidden roots. These are the systems that shape both neurodevelopment and healing potential. And they're exactly what my Radiant Health Protocol is designed to address. So let's walk through them briefly, and then we're going to go deeper into them later on in the presentation. So first off is genetics and epigenetics, your body's blueprint and how it's expressed. Medication exposures, so especially things like acetaminophen, which can lower detox capacity and increase in vulnerability, and how the body processes these exposures. There's environmental toxins, so everything from heavy metals to plastics and mold, the invisible overload, right, from modern life. It's everywhere. And again, this does include vaccines, but also, right, our food. Are we buying organic? Are we using plastics, etc.? Nutrition, which is how the body builds, fuels, and repairs itself. And then we have to look at preconception and pregnancy for us as parents, because parental health shapes the child's foundation before birth. And we have to look at an early life and nourishment. So things like feeding, attachment, environment, medical exposures, which all shape development, and gut health and nervous system health. These are the master regulators of communication, learning, and repair. And this right here is the Radiant Health Protocol. This is how this connects because it's the framework that I use with every client to address the root systems, not by chasing symptoms, right? But by rebuilding regulation, detoxification, and optimizing resilience from the inside out. When we support the body this way, the behaviors begin to calm, focus improves, and the body finally has the safety it needs to heal. So now we're going to jump into specific conditions. And when we talk about autism, it's really important to remember that this is a spectrum. So what that means is that there isn't one single presentation or one single cause, because some children show early differences right from birth. They may have subtle delays in eye contact, movement, or engagement, and others develop typically for months or even years. And then after an illness, a vaccination, or a big inflammatory stressor, they began to regress. They could have lost words, social interest, motor skills that they previously had. Every child's story is unique. Some may struggle with digestive issues, sensory overload, emotional regulation, trouble sleeping, while others are simply more sensitive, more focused on specific interests, or have their own way of engaging with the world. When we use the word spectrum, we do want to honor that diversity. Now, for some families, the challenges are profound and affect daily functioning. So everything from communication, if their child is maybe nonverbal, activities of daily living like getting dressed, eating, brushing teeth can be huge challenges every single day. Connection, so socially, but even with loved ones, and then overall comfort. Some experience pain and discomfort continually or for large periods of time. For others, their child may just be a little different. They may be quirky, creative, deeply intelligent, but sensitive to the environment in ways that the body sometimes struggles to balance. And then there's also different conditions under this. And one that I want to highlight is pathological demand avoidance, or PDA, which is getting more and more attention, especially recently. So these are extreme anxiety-driven avoidance behaviors. There's a need for control, and there's social strategies used to get away from demands and to not do demands. And this can overlap with autism, and it sometimes can be its own separate condition as well. So I wanted to mention that because I have experience with that as well. And our goal is to help the body function better overall. So we want to reduce pain and inflammation. We want to support the gut, the nervous system, and increase communication and connection, right? It's all about function and the daily experience of the person and the caregivers. So when we work on these foundational systems, we often see children become calmer, more focused, more comfortable in their bodies, and more connected with the world around them. That's what true healing means here, is improving function, comfort, quality of life. That's our focus. And we do want to honor who they already are. And that's where the Radiant Health Protocol comes in. We have a root cause focus. So we're not just addressing symptoms, we're looking at the systems that are driving these struggles: gut health, inflammation, nervous system regulation, detox pathways, nutrition, environmental support. And we use a personalized approach. So for each child, we identify which routes are most effective and create strategies that strengthen the body, calm inflammation, and optimize development. And we want functional gains. So by supporting the body, nervous system, and environment, we do often see improvements in connection, learning, communication, and overall well-being that can be profound. Autism overall is a set of signals guiding us towards which systems need support. With the right foundation, children can thrive, learn, and flourish in their own unique way. Now, next is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, sometimes called ADHD or previously called ADD. So ADHD, like what it's called now, is like autism in the sense that it exists on a spectrum as well. It affects attention, focus, and behavior in ways that vary widely from person to person. So some children or adults may primarily struggle with inattention, which is difficulty focusing, completing tasks, or remembering instructions. And this has been historically called ADD. That means they struggle mainly just with the focus and attention without the hyperactivity or impulsivity that's often often associated with ADHD. Others may show hyperactivity, so constant movement, restlessness, or an inability to sit still. Some show both, often with that impulsivity, so acting before thinking, interrupting, or struggling to manage emotions. Now, before we get too far with this, everything that I just described there, how many kids do you know that struggle with impulsivity when they want something, they really want it, who may have emotional challenges, right? I want to caution with this diagnosis, just a personal aside and professionally. What I've seen is that sometimes kids get this diagnosis or this label when they're just being kids. So, something that I encourage you as a parent to look at is a child and the environment that they're in. So I know personally, friends of mine have had kids at even 3 years old go to a pre-K 3 program where they were required to be sitting at a desk for the majority of the day. Do you think most 3-year-olds developmentally are going to be able to sit at a desk all day? No, developmentally, that is not appropriate. And so I can see in some environments where there is a mismatch between the actual level of development of a child and the expectations of a certain environment. Does that make sense to you? So I just want to present this moment of pause for you that if you are seeing certain things, work with a provider who is taking the actual child's development into account. Many kids, when they are in an environment where they can run around out in nature and move their bodies, they thrive and do well compared to environments where they are required to sit still and focus on something for multiple, minutes at a time. And we need to meet children where they are developmentally. And all children will thrive when you put them in the correct environment. And just a quick action step that many of you can start implementing right away is allow your children to have this free play time. And I know with schedules that can be sometimes challenging, but see where you can find this time for your child to just be a child. And out in nature is a big bonus where they can put their toes in the sand or in the dirt or play with sticks and leaves and rocks. This is something that all children can benefit from and can actually improve their development and their overall health and well-being. So that's just a little aside there. And again, when we look at it, ADHD isn't just like a behavioral issue. This is again a signal from the body that reflects how the brain and the nervous system are developing and functioning. So this is a real presentation again, but that earlier aside is just to make sure that kids aren't being misdiagnosed or inappropriately put into a category. Okay. And there are individuals who do struggle with these signs and symptoms. So we need to look at, again, the brain and the nervous system and how that overall body is functioning, right? How are those systems functioning? Now, when we're looking at brain function, we're looking at neurotransmitters like dopamine, norepinephrine, how they're produced, used, and recycled. And there are underlying factors like genetics, detoxification capacity, nutrition, gut health, and nervous system regulation. Now, ADHD can impact school, work, daily life, but with targeted holistic support, we can help the body and brain function more efficiently. It's about increasing executive function, emotional regulation, energy balance, and overall quality of life. So again, the Radiant Health Protocol, how do we support individuals that have signs and symptoms of ADHD? We look at that root cause focus. So we're not looking at just managing behaviors, we're addressing the symptoms that are underlying and driving the attention, focus, and energy challenges. Gut health, gut health, gut health is such a big one. Nervous system regulation, detox pathways, nutrition, environmental support, all important on this journey. And It's a personalized approach. So each child or adult has a unique combination of underlying factors. So we identify which routes are most affected and create strategies that enhance focus, calm overstimulation, and support emotional regulation. And then by strengthening these natural innate body systems, we optimize neurotransmitters because many of them are produced in the gut, which is something that many don't know about and we'll talk about later. We support the nervous system, and we often see profound improvements in attention, energy balance, executive function, and again, overall quality of life. We want to do this in a way where it feels natural and sustainable, and it is possible for children and adults with ADHD to thrive, learning to focus, manage that energy, and express themselves in a way that is authentic and true to them. Now let's talk about sensory processing. This is something that's often overlooked, but plays a huge role in neurodevelopment. Sensory processing disorder, or SPD, occurs when the brain has trouble receiving and responding appropriately to sensory information. So this can mean being hypersensitive, where adults and kids can be overreact to lights, sounds, textures, or touch, or they can be hyposensitive, which means they might seek extra sensory input to feel regulated. And again, these can present in the same individual at the same time as well. So sometimes someone can be very sensitive to touch, for example, but is really looking for texture. So texture is what they're sensitive to, but they really may be looking for vestibular input, which is the fancy way of saying like they may run into things and crash into things because they're looking for that sensation from their body. And again, we see this in a lot of kids. So we can have a combined presentation in individuals as well. And again, just some signs to watch for include strong preferences for certain textures in clothing or food, overreaction to noises or lights, difficulty with coordination, sensory seeking behaviors like wanting to crash into everything. And these challenges can impact daily life profoundly. It can impact learning, social interactions, emotional regulation. Um, it can feel like your skin's crawling, right? Especially if you are really sensitive to touch. So this can impact all day, every day. And the goal is supporting sensory processing is to help their nervous system self-regulate. By doing this, we reduce stress, improve comfort, and increase their ability to participate fully in daily life. It's about creating an environment where the body and the brain can function optimally. So again, underlying factors are all the same: genetics, detoxification capacity, nutrition, gut health, and nervous system regulation. And the Radiant Health Protocol is supportive because, again, we're not just managing the behaviors, we're addressing the systems that are driving the hypersensitivity or the hyposensitivity and the regulation challenges: gut health, nervous system regulation, detoxification, nutrition, environmental support. And each child is unique, right? There's a unique profile and sensory experience that they're having. So we identify which routes are most effective and create strategies that help that nervous system self-regulate, reduce stress, and improve comfort in all daily life. So by supporting the body, the nervous system, and the environment, we often see improvements in sensory tolerance, emotional regulation, learning, and overall participation in everyday activities. And again, this can be profound because, again, any sensory challenges, they're signals showing us that the body is asking for help. And with that right foundation, children can feel regulated again and they can engage with the world around them. So now let's talk about PANS and PANDAS. These are conditions that can sometimes look like ADHD, autism, or sensory challenges, but the story behind them is different. That's why I wanted to include them in this masterclass as well. So PANS stands for Pediatric Acute Onset Neuropsychiatric Syndrome. I know these are mouthfuls. And PANDAS is Pediatric Autoimmune Neuropsychiatric Disorders Associated with Streptococcal Infections. Yes, they're long names, but the key difference here is timing. So these conditions often come on suddenly after an infection, usually strep, but it can be other infections that trigger it as well. And families notice really big, abrupt changes in behavior. So that's the key piece to remember with this. There can be new tics that come up all of a sudden, obsessive compulsive tendencies. So OCD-like symptoms are really big here. Sudden anxiety, sudden sleep disturbances, mood swings, or even sensory sensitivities. You might also see physical complaints like stomach aches, joint pain, or other inflammatory signs. So why does this happen, right? The reason this happens is that the immune system, while fighting the infection, can mistakenly attack parts of the brain. This creates inflammation in neural circuits, which then affects mood, behavior, and cognitive function. And again, it can present very similarly to autism, ADHD, sensory challenges, etc. So that's why really this condition shows that it's the inflammation of the brain, the neural inflammation that is creating these signs and symptoms that we're seeing. So it's important to recognize these patterns early because the focus isn't, again, just managing symptoms. We want to decrease that neuroinflammation. We want to support immune balance and reduce triggers so that the child can regain function, emotional regulation, and daily life skills. So PANS and PANDAS reminds us that, again, the signs and symptoms can be so similar, but they're just messages from the body that is asking literally for support. So with our approach, we look at the root causes, immune support, and gentle individualized interventions to help the brain and body recover safely. So we are looking at, again, immune dysregulation, gut health, inflammation imbalance, detox pathways, nutrition, nervous system support. And again, each child is unique, so we need to see what is their most important unique root causes and create strategies for them specifically. And again, by supporting the body, by regulating the immune system, the environment, we can see improvements in emotional regulation, focus, behavior, and daily functioning. So again, with the right support, children can regain stability, resilience, and thrive in their daily lives. So the last condition that we're going to talk about for this masterclass, well, and it's actually a group of conditions because there's so many that can fall in this, are generally speaking learning and communication challenges. So again, what we're really looking at is how the brain is functioning and the inflammation of the brain, how it is able to process information. So some children and adults have difficulty not just integrating sensory input, but also integrating it with cognitive processing. So this can show up as struggles with learning, speech, or social interaction. So again, the key is that these challenges aren't separate isolated conditions because the root causes are the same ones that we've been talking about all along. Gut health, detox pathways, a toxin overload, nutrient deficiencies, nervous system that's dysregulated. So what we see outwardly is difficulty learning, delayed speech, trouble with social cues, right? Or some kids are nonverbal. And it's really the body and the brain adapting to overload. So it's the person's body sending signals that support is needed. So our goal again is to address the root causes. We need to identify what are the most important ones for this individual, a child or adult. And we, again, target the systems that are driving those struggles. So gut health, nervous system regulation, detox pathways, nutrition, environmental factors. I'm sure you're probably reciting these along with me at this point because you've heard them so many times. But again, when we identify the specific ones for the individual, then we can support the body, brain, and environment, and we see improvement in focus, memory, expressive and receptive language, and overall confidence in learning too. So with the right foundations, with the right tools, children can develop skills, confidence, and thrive in their own unique way. So we've gone through all of these presentations, right? And if you're watching this masterclass, one of these has resonated with you. So first off, I invite you to take a moment and just think of what what presentation does my child or myself, right? If you're an adult watching this for yourself, what presentation most resonates with what I'm feeling or what my child's feeling or experiencing? And I invite you to take a moment and think of what could be your potential root causes. And some of you may say, I have no clue. That's why I'm watching this masterclass. And that's okay. We're going to dive deeper into those in part 2 of this series. And again, you are your own expert. I'm here to teach you how to be your own holistic doctor. So I want you to start thinking of these things and see what pieces of the puzzle you can start putting together for yourself. Now, many of you um, may have been on this journey for a while, right? Because most families that come to me aren't starting from scratch. They've already tried things. They've maybe been to specialists. They've maybe already had formal diagnoses, etc. Maybe they've tried supplements, right? Maybe you've already tried dietary changes, medications, detox kits or sprays or drops, etc., or even alternative protocols. And when the results don't last, or maybe you don't see results, right? Or in some cases, sometimes you may get worse. It's easy to start doubting and doubting the process, doubting yourself, even doubting whether healing is really possible. And I've been there as well, so I know how that can feel. But here's what I want you to know is that it's not that your efforts didn't work, it's that the approach may not have been matched to what you need or your child needs, and it probably wasn't addressing the full picture. So I see this so often because many of us see things, online on social media where we're only really managing symptoms and we're missing those deeper root causes. And even things like certain sprays or drops or detox kits, etc., they're actually not looking at the whole picture because the things that are quietly running in the background that make the biggest difference are your gut health and your gut imbalances, your inflammation load, your toxin overload, your nervous system regulation, the things that you're doing day in and day out. So what happens is if we're taking a medication or a supplement even, it might help for a little while and it might get you this far, right? It might get you a step ahead, but the underlying imbalance still stays unresolved. So over time, inflammation is rising, stress is building, and the symptoms slowly creep back, or you get stuck. You don't move forward more than what you got. And again, this isn't just physical, this is your nervous system, this is emotional, and it affects the whole family, not just the one individual or the one child. So there's frustration, there's burnout, there's emotional exhaustion of trying so hard. And I know this as a parent and as a caregiver. And so if you are a parent or caregiver, I absolutely hear you. And I know how frustrating it can be and how exhausting it can be. It can be really heavy. Now, the good news is that there's a reason why certain things haven't worked for you yet. And it hasn't worked potentially before. And once you understand the root cause, everything changes. Because when you again stop chasing symptoms and quick fixes, and you start working with your body, the innate natural processes that we have in our body, we begin to see true lasting transformation. And so we're talking about processes that everyone has, our detoxification systems, our digestive system, our metabolism, right? We are going to dive deeper into this in the next parts of this masterclass because we need to look at the why behind the symptoms and how to begin healing from the root. So this next part 2 is going to be coming up next, and that is where we're going to dive into the actual factors where you can start piecing together your root causes and start understanding why you may be seeing the signs and symptoms that you are, and you're going to get clear action steps of how to move forward, and easy, small, and sometimes really simple changes that you can start taking right away and seeing improvement in yourself and your kids and your family. So for now, I sign off. And I'm excited to get this part 2 to you soon next week, and you'll be able to dive into that. Again, leave your comments here. I am here to support you, to get you resources, and here to answer your questions and get you support for you and your loved ones. So as always, I wish you all the best, and I will see you on the next section of this masterclass.